"That's me," Oliver whispered, staring at the television, but the voice coming from the screen wasn't his. The newscaster's tone was calm, detached. "Authorities are still searching for 39-year-old Oliver Crane, missing since the fire at Ridgeview facility 3 years ago." The camera cut to a photo, his face, his eyes, his scar just above the eyebrow. Everything matched, except the man in the mirror watching it all was supposed to be Oliver Crane, alive and well. The coffee mug in his hand trembled, spilling onto the table as the world bent inward. The air turned heavy with disbelief. He turned to the nurse folding blankets near the window. "Who is that?" he asked. She didn't look up. "Your medication's on the counter, Mr. Lang," she replied. Mr. Lang. The name hit like a cold slap. It wasn't a mistake, his ID card said the same. Ethan Lang. Resident 42. The room around him was suddenly unfamiliar. Too clean, too curated, like someone had wiped away the real story. He switched off the TV, but the image stayed burned in his mind. His own face declared missing. His heartbeat thundered as he rushed to the bathroom mirror. The reflection stared back, steady, recognizable, and yet something inside him whispered borrowed. He touched his jawline, tracing the scar, the one he thought came from a childhood bike accident. The man on TV had the same one. Same curve, same depth. His pulse roared in his ears. "This is some kind of mistake," he muttered. The mirror fogged slightly as his breath grew shallow. Behind him, the nurse's voice floated through the half-open door. "Dr. Vale said no more screens today." He froze. Dr. Vale. The name lingered like an echo from a place he didn't remember but somehow feared. He wiped the mirror clean and looked again. His eyes, they weren't shaking, but the pupils dilated in uneven rhythm, flickering faintly against the dim light. The kind of flicker cameras used to detect facial projection mismatches. He pressed his fingers against the glass, half expecting it to move. It didn't, but the reflection blinked a half-second late. His breath hitched. "No," he whispered, stepping back. He turned toward the window. The reflection didn't follow immediately. For a heartbeat, the glass showed two versions of him. One still, one real. The nurse called again, this time closer. "Ethan, it's time for your checkup." He moved fast, pulling the plug on the small monitoring device near the bed. The screen went black, and for the first time, silence felt alive. He slipped the ID badge from his shirt pocket, Ethan Lang. The barcode beneath it glowed faint blue under the lamp. He grabbed his phone from the drawer, but the network showed restricted access. Every contact, every app, replaced by a company logo he didn't recognize, NeuroDyne Health Systems. He didn't remember downloading it. His hands trembled as he opened the camera app and snapped a quick picture of himself. But when he looked at the gallery, the image wasn't there. The folder was empty. The phone hummed, data auto-synced to central storage. He felt the nausea of realization twist through his chest. Someone else was saving his memories. He turned to the nurse as she entered. "Where's Dr. Vale?" he asked. She frowned gently, rehearsed. "He doesn't make personal visits anymore. You can message him through your patient dashboard." "I don't want the dashboard," he said, stepping closer, voice shaking. "I want to talk to the man who told me my name was Ethan Lang." She hesitated, her hand brushing against the emergency button on her wristband. "Please, Mr. Lang, you're getting agitated again." He stared at her. The word again didn't belong. How many times had this happened before? He moved to the TV again, rewinding the news clip through the voice command. The nurse tried to stop him, but he raised his hand. "Just wait." The screen replayed the missing person report, this time slower. Oliver Crane, last seen leaving Ridgeview facility. A faint background detail caught his eye, a woman behind the reporter holding a small sign. "Help US find them." Plural. Not him. Them. Behind her, the faint outline of a logo on the facility gates, NeuroDyne. He turned to the nurse. "What's Ridgeview?" he asked. She sighed, looking away. "A closed clinic. Years ago. Burned down." Her hesitation betrayed her. "You were there," he pressed. She froze. "No, Mr. Lang. You need to rest." But her eyes had already told him the truth. The fire wasn't just history. It was his beginning. He took a deep breath, heart pounding. "If I was in that fire," he said, "how come I don't remember it?" She opened her mouth, then shut it, gripping the folder tighter. "Memory trauma," she whispered, almost like reciting protocol. "You were part of recovery testing." His voice hardened. Recovery from what? Her silence was answer enough. He stepped closer until they were inches apart. "What did you people do to me?" A faint alarm beeped. Her wristband had triggered silently. Footsteps approached from the hall. He backed away, scanning the room. One vent, one door, one camera. The camera light blinked red now, recording. "Please, just sit," she pleaded, stepping between him and the exit. "They'll explain everything tomorrow." He laughed under his breath, a broken, disbelieving sound. "Tomorrow," he said. "I just saw myself declared dead 3 years ago." 2 security staff appeared at the door. "Sir, everything's fine," one said calmly, hands visible. "We just need you to come with us." Oliver looked at them, at the steady rhythm in their voices, the practiced empathy. He'd used that tone himself once, though he didn't remember when. "You think I'm crazy," he said quietly. The nurse shook her head. "No." Just confused, he pointed at the TV. "Then tell me why that man is me." One guard stepped forward, hand extended. "We'll take you back to rest." But the TV suddenly glitched, the signal warping into static before cutting to a new frame, a live feed. The same facility hallway. Same uniforms. And on the screen, those 2 guards were already standing behind Oliver. Only he hadn't moved. The realization froze the air. "What is this?" he whispered. The nurse reached for the remote, but he snatched it first. "What are you showing me?" The static grew louder, turning into fragmented audio. "Subject 39, stability breach detected." The nurse lunged for the remote, but he shoved her aside and yanked the power cord. The TV went dark again. Everyone froze. In the reflection on the blank screen, he saw all 3 of them, himself, the guards, the nurse, and one more silhouette standing in the corner that wasn't there in real life. A faint whisper rose, almost inside his skull. "You were never meant to see this." He turned sharply, nothing. Just the mirror, trembling faintly from his own movement. The guards exchanged glances, unsure now if they were restraining a patient or a witness. Oliver's voice lowered, calm, hollow. "You can't erase someone by changing their name." He took one last look at the dark screen and whispered, "If I'm a copy, where's the original?" Outside the door, a light flickered. The hallway camera rotated, adjusting its angle. And somewhere deep inside the building, a system logged the words, "Subject Lang. Awakening sequence detected." "I never signed this," Oliver said, staring at the form that carried his name in perfect handwriting. The nurse didn't answer. Her eyes darted to the corner camera, then back to the folder she wasn't supposed to open. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Where did you get these?" She hesitated, hands trembling slightly. "You didn't," she said quietly. "Dr. Vale did." He reached for the folder, but she held it back for a second, torn between protocol and guilt. Then she let go. Inside were hospital discharge documents dated 3 years before the fire, 3 years he couldn't remember living. The top page bore his signature, but the file photo wasn't him. It was someone else with his face. His heartbeat pulsed against the edges of reality. Each page felt like a ghost of his own life, written by someone mimicking his handwriting, his medical history, his habits. Allergies matched. Blood type matched. But under neural pattern record, there was a code he didn't recognize, 39A, echo reconstruction. He flipped faster. There were therapy notes, transcripts, even voice logs marked session 12. He pressed play on the small audio chip embedded in the corner. A calm male voice filled the silence. "You said you wanted peace, Mr. Crane. We gave you a life without pain." Oliver froze. The voice responding to that line was his own. Then why does it still feel like I'm missing someone? He slammed the folder shut. "What is this?" he demanded. The nurse backed away. "You weren't supposed to see that." "Why not?" His tone cracked. "Because it tells me I'm not real?" Her silence confirmed everything his mind refused to process. The fluorescent light above flickered, syncing with the hum of the air vents, steady and cold. "Where's the original file?" he asked. She blinked, confused. "The unedited one. The one before this version." He stepped closer. "If there are two identities, there's a second record. I want it." She shook her head. "They keep physical backups in the archive room, sublevel 2. But it's sealed. Only Dr. Vale's keycard." He was already walking toward the door before she finished. The corridor outside was sterile, long, too quiet. Security cameras tracked him from every angle, blinking red like slow heartbeats. He passed identical white doors labeled by patient numbers, not names. Each one hummed faintly behind the glass, life reduced to a digital rhythm. He reached the elevator, pressed B2, and waited. The descent was slow. Every floor click echoed through his skull like a countdown. When the doors opened, the air was colder. Rows of sealed cabinets lined the dim hallway, metallic and numbered. He walked until he found the section labeled Historical Archives, NeuroDyne Trials. His pulse raced as he scanned the rows. C-17, Crane, Oliver. But beside it, a second label glinted. C-18, Lang, Ethan. Both files bore his face in the ID thumbnails, identical expressions, identical scars. One said subject, recovered. The other, subject, template. He pulled the first drawer open. Inside were dozens of transparent data cards, each one labeled with a date and code. His own name appeared repeatedly. But another line stood out. Memory transfer authorization, source. Oh, Crane/destination, Elang. His throat tightened. They hadn't just copied his face. They'd uploaded his memories into another person. Or maybe he was the other person. The boundary between self and subject dissolved into static. He inserted one card into the nearby terminal. A video flickered to life, his face again, sitting across from Dr. Vale. The doctor spoke softly. "This will only take a moment, Oliver. You'll wake up, and the pain will be gone." On screen, the other version of him smiled faintly. "And her?" he asked. Vale nodded. "She'll never know." Then the screen glitched, showing a flash of another face beside his, a woman, blurred, eyes wet with tears. "Please don't do this," she said. "He won't be him." The feed cut out. Oliver stepped back, chest tight. His reflection in the monitor looked pale, haunted. "Who is she?" he whispered. He reached for another file card, this one tagged post-fire reconstruction. It contained fragments, half images, corrupted voice logs. Through static, a voice emerged. Subject survived with partial memory overwrite. Backup remains incomplete. Then Vale again, calm as ever. "Let the clone believe he's original. It's easier that way." He stumbled backward, gripping the edge of the terminal. His breathing turned ragged. "Clone," he said out loud, testing the word as if it might reject him. "That's what I am." But the room didn't answer. Only the low hum of machines filled the silence, mechanical, indifferent, infinite. He grabbed both file drawers, ripping them out, papers spilling like pieces of forgotten lives. Dozens of other names appeared, men and women with notes like replication successful or memory rejection. He stopped when one sheet fluttered to his feet. A photograph clipped to the corner showed him, or the other him, standing beside the same woman from the video. Her smile, faint and sad. On the back, written in his own handwriting. "If you find this, remember the truth wasn't lost. It was given away." His fingers trembled as he traced the ink. Given away. He didn't understand if it meant sacrifice or theft. A voice echoed down the corridor. "You shouldn't be here." He turned sharply. Dr. Vale stood at the far end, hands clasped behind his back, calm as ever. "I needed to see," Oliver said. Vale walked closer, each step deliberate. "You already have. You took my life." "No," Vale said, lowering his tone. "I preserved it. The fire killed Oliver Crane. You are what survived." Oliver shook his head. "Then why can't I remember dying?" The doctor's expression softened. "Because the real memory isn't yours to hold." Oliver's jaw clenched. "Whose is it then?" Vale's gaze dropped to the photograph in Oliver's hand. "Hers." The words struck like lightning through the dark. She gave up your truth to save what was left of you. She couldn't handle losing you, so we let her believe you still existed. She built you in her grief. Oliver's eyes widened. You mean I'm her reconstruction? Vale finished quietly. A memory that learned to breathe. The lights flickered again, flicks of static crawling along the walls. Somewhere in the upper floors, alarms began to beep faintly, an intrusion alert, no doubt triggered by his unauthorized access. Vale sighed. We'll have to reset you now. It's for your peace. Oliver looked down at the files scattered around him, the proof of stolen lives. His voice steadied.
No, he said.
Peace isn't mine anymore. He picked up one of the data drives and backed toward the elevator. Vale's voice followed him, calm, but edged with regret. You can't take that. It's not yours. Oliver paused at the open doors, eyes fixed on the doctor. Then whose is it? The elevator began to close, the gap shrinking. The last thing he saw before darkness sealed him in was Vale's reflection bending across the glass wall, two faces overlapping into one. As the doors met with a click, Oliver whispered into the silence, maybe neither of us ever were. Above, the lights flickered once more. In the archive, Vale exhaled slowly and picked up the fallen photo. The woman's face stared back, smiling softly beside the man who wasn't real. He turned it over and read the same handwritten line. Given away, he murmured, then folded the photo in half. The alarm blared louder now, echoing through the corridors. Somewhere between truth and invention, the man who wasn't supposed to exist was walking into the world carrying proof that he did. I remember dying, Oliver said, his voice trembling as if the words themselves were foreign. The nurse froze in the doorway, the tray of instruments in her hands rattling against metal. You should rest, she whispered, but he wasn't listening. His eyes were fixed on the flickering light above the hospital bed, each pulse sinking with an image behind his eyes, flames, collapsing ceilings, a woman's voice screaming his name. Lydia. The name tore from his throat before he even understood it. His hands gripped the sheets, knuckles whitening. She was there, wasn't she? The nurse's silence was an answer louder than any denial. He sat up suddenly, the heart monitor spiking into alarm. She was in the room when it burned. He swung his legs off the bed, ignoring the nurse's protests, the wires tugging against his skin. Mr. Lang, stop calling me that. His voice cracked through the sterile air. My name is Oliver Crane. The room seemed to shrink around him as those words filled it, pressing against the smooth walls like a secret demanding space to breathe. He staggered toward the small cabinet, yanking open drawers, searching for something, anything that could prove his life hadn't been rewritten. At the bottom, beneath a folded hospital gown, he found a keycard labeled Observation Wing, Restricted. The nurse's expression collapsed into panic. You can't go there, she said. They'll, but Oliver was already halfway through the door. The corridor beyond was dim, lined with frosted glass panels and faint reflections that distorted as he passed. Every step echoed differently, as if the hallway changed shape behind him. He swiped the card at the door marked Patient Room 7. The lock clicked open. The room inside was not a hospital room at all. It was a museum of someone's life. Photographs, sketches, and voice recorders lined the walls, each tagged with dates and fragments of sentences. Fire origin point unknown. Subject recovered with partial identity overlap. Emotional recall triggers, sound, child's laughter, scent, burnt wood. He moved closer to one photograph, a little girl standing beside a woman whose face had been blurred digitally, the image marked classified. Level 3. The caption beneath read, Crane, Lydia, deceased. He reached out to touch the photo, but his hand stopped inches away. The blurred face flickered, then for half a second sharpened into his own. His reflection replaced hers. He stumbled back, shaking his head.
No.
No, that's not possible. The speakers embedded in the ceiling crackled alive. Memory reconstruction anomaly detected, a calm, automated voice said. Initiating containment protocol. He turned toward the door, but it locked automatically with a metallic snap. Red lights washed over the walls. The recordings began to play in sequence, each one overlapping the next, his own voice, fragmented and pleading. "She's gone. Please stop the procedure." Then another clip. "Erase the fire. I don't want to see it again." He covered his ears, but the sounds crawled beneath his skin. The memories weren't coming back. They were being forced through him like an electrical current. His knees hit the floor. The air smelled of smoke again. The light above him dimmed to orange. For a moment, he wasn't in the room. He was in the fire. Heat clawed at his skin. Lydia was standing at the far end of the burning hallway, her small frame outlined in the blaze. She held something in her hands, a photograph, burning around the edges. "Dad, don't come closer," she shouted, tears streaking through the soot. The ceiling cracked. He remembered running forward, shouting her name, the sound swallowed by fire. Then blackness. But in that darkness, another voice had whispered, "We can rebuild what was lost." The vision dissolved, leaving him gasping on the cold floor of the observation room. He looked down at his hands. They were shaking, but unburned. "She didn't die," he whispered. "She was pulled out." He crawled toward the corner monitor, where a digital file labeled Patient Lydia Crane, status. Active blinked faintly beneath the security overlay. He tried to open it, but it demanded biometric clearance. He pressed his thumb against the scanner, and to his shock, it accepted. The file opened. A live feed appeared, a hospital bed, a figure lying motionless under dim light. A girl, maybe 16, her face bandaged, breathing slow and steady. The monitor identified her as Lydia Crane. Tears welled in his eyes. "She's alive," he whispered. But before the relief could settle, the camera panned slightly on its own, revealing another figure in the reflection of the observation glass, a man standing beside her bed. Dr. Vale. He was speaking softly, though the feed had no audio. Vale reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face with unsettling tenderness. Then he turned toward the camera as if aware Oliver was watching. His lips formed silent words. "You weren't supposed to see this." The feed cut to static. Oliver's chest constricted. "Why?" he murmured, staring at the blank screen. "Why keep her alive and tell me she was gone?" His voice echoed, small and desperate. "What did you do to us?" He slammed his fist against the terminal, sparks flaring. The screen flickered back to life, this time displaying a data log. Procedure 39A, memory integration. Subject Lydia, host Oliver. Completion, 87%. He felt his stomach drop. Integration. The realization came slowly, crushingly. They hadn't just taken his memories. They had merged hers. He wasn't remembering her because she was alive somewhere else. He was remembering her because part of her was inside him. He backed away, dizzy, gripping the wall. Every sound in his head began to double, his breathing and hers, his heartbeat and another faint echo beneath it. He closed his eyes and saw flashes, Lydia's room, her drawings, her voice singing under her breath. They weren't hallucinations, they were inherited moments. "You took her," he whispered to the empty air. "You put her in me." His reflection in the observation glass stared back, trembling. For a second, it wasn't him at all. It was Lydia's face looking out, eyes wide and scared. "Stop," he whispered, clutching his head. "Stop, please." The alarm's pulse synced with the rhythm of his racing thoughts. He stumbled toward the door again, pounding it with his fists. "Let me out." His voice cracked until it wasn't his alone. It layered, overlapping, a man and a girl crying in the same breath. The light flickered violently, and when it steadied, the room was silent again. He stood still, sweat dripping down his neck, chest heaving. The reflection in the glass had gone still too, except this time it smiled faintly, a quiet, familiar smile. Lydia's. Oliver took a step back, heart pounding. "You're not gone," he whispered. "You're inside me." He raised a trembling hand toward the glass, his reflection mirroring the motion perfectly. "I'll get you out," he said softly. "I promise." The lights above flickered again, briefly revealing a faint message across the glass surface. Voice signature accepted. Subject 39A fully active. Then, for just a moment, the reflection mouthed a single phrase he didn't speak himself. Find him. The red light above the door blinked green. The lock clicked open on its own. He hesitated, staring at the reflection one last time. Her eyes met his, calm, almost guiding. He stepped into the dark hallway beyond. Behind him, the observation room lights faded until only the screen glowed softly, looping the last line of system text like a warning and a promise. Memory merge complete. Identity unstable.